What's up, Eagles fans? Welcome into Inside Training Camp presented by Independence Blue Cross. We are going to have some fun here today. I'm very excited to welcome in two of my best friends in the business, Ross Tucker and Eagles royalty, Mike Quick. Ross, last time I saw Mike, before today, was at the open practice at Lincoln Financial Field on Sunday night. Dave Spadaro introducing him to the crowd of 50,000 plus in the lower bowl. Everybody goes nuts for Mike Quick.
Of course they do. I mean, look, I got a lot of things to say. First of all, Fran's jersey is incredible.
Well, I had to wear the Herald for today.
That's amazing. Secondly, when I think Kelly Green, I think my first game with my dad in '85 when Mike was playing. I think 84, 85, no, it's 85 because Jaws was the starting quarterback. Except for third and long. They'd bring Randall in, and I'm in the 700 level at the vet, and Randall comes trotting out, and it was either a bomb, an interception, Randall, I mean, it was, but can you imagine that now, a rookie coming in just for third and long? So anyway, I love the coach. And by the way, what you said about the open practice, that's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, off the top of my head, Mike, maybe 3 or 4 other fan bases, like the Packers. I can't think of many fan bases that would have that many people come to a practice.
Yeah. I mean, practice. The atmosphere was awesome.
Look at that. Look at the video.
They had, well, I'm told that there were 50,000 people there. It was completely bananas. I remember just looking at some of the guys and even coaches who are new to Philadelphia and looking at their faces when the people were going off in this practice. They'd never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
So it was the first day that Miles Jack and Cunningham, the two new linebacker additions, were here. The first time they'd ever seen anything in Philadelphia. And they were standing on the sideline and they looked like they were completely spooked.
Those guys made their bones in the league with the Jags and the Texans. There was more people at that practice than go to some Jags and Texans game.
Yeah.
Correct.
For real.
You're not lying.
That is correct.
Well, what I always say is like, all right, like the start of training camp. You know, when we did the first episode of this show, we were like, all right, like football's back, like really excited. But I feel like it's not like real. It doesn't really feel real until that open practice, because you know you're there at the stadium, and you know on the big boards they'll show Sue Opeta coming out of the tunnel or Mario Goodrich coming out of the tunnel. And 50,000 people go nuts, right? And it's like, oh, like this feels.
What are you trying to say about Sue Opeta and Mario Goodrich?
But then it goes up a level for AJ Brown, and you like feel it, and you're like, oh, like, all right, like Eagles football's back.
And then Jalen comes out, and you can't even hear yourself. That's how loud it got. And this is a practice.
And then Mike Quick gets announced, and then they all go nuts all over again.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
I didn't even know I was there.
It was
fun.
Awesome atmosphere. And look, the Eagles they've had a couple of really impressive practices since we last had an episode here, Ross.
And by the way, they raised $650,000.
Yes.
That is unbelievable.
That's crazy.
I'm still counting.
Kudos to the Eagles fans to be able to do that. That is awesome.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's been a few days since our last episode when we had Merrill. We had Mike's partner here.
Is he doing slang
time.
today?
What's that?
Is he going to do slang like Merrill did?
Maybe we'll get him to do it live. What do you think? How many
of those words did you know, Mike?
Let's not just pretend that I did.
Sus. We'll go with that one. So what have you guys seen from practice these last few days? We had the open practice on Sunday. We've had some live sessions, a lot of pad work. We just got off the practice field here on Thursday, and it was a lighter day today. But Ross, what have you seen in the last few practices?
Well, it's a game week.
Yeah.
You know, and they're treating it as such. Today was their third straight day of practice, just like they will have in the regular season, right? It'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then Saturday's the walkthrough, Sunday is the game. So I think Sirianni wanted them to go through that this week and know what it's like to have 3 straight days of practice, because they hadn't done that up until this point. So they're starting to kind of get ready in the game mode. And as you said, Fran, you don't think it's real until the open practice. It gets real for me. And I think, Mike, that first game, preseason game, when they come out, you see them in uniform and they're going against an opponent.
Well, here's what you know. Today was just like regular season Friday type of practice.
In the cafeteria.
You know how I know? In the cafeteria. And Ross should notice the way he loves food. So the food on Friday is usually like sushi.
Yeah, I had a bunch of sushi.
Some pizza, little fried like wings, and then maybe ribs and different things like that. So today when I walked in, I was reminded when I walked in the cafeteria, this is like Friday.
I think Mike comes here even more than I do. He knows the food.
Football Friday is a special day in the cafeteria, as we know. I would say my one big takeaway just from today, and again, it was a light practice, so the first team was only out there for a couple periods. Jalen Hurts made this outstanding throw opposite hash to Olamide Zaccheaus along the sideline, And that's why I want to kind of take that. All right, that was a big time throw. Yeah. Jalen Hurts in the last week named number 3 in the NFL top 100 list. Look, we could talk about like the process behind the NFL top 100 and all that, but Jalen Hurts at number 3, I think that speaks to how his peers view him around the league.
I mean, a year ago, if we were doing this exact same show,
right,
most of the show would have been about Jalen Hurts and how well he was going to play. Is he the guy? Yeah. Since then,
that was the
second inning MVP, highest paid player in the NFL, number 3 Eagles top 100. And you know what's interesting? I talked to some people, and even some diehard Eagles fans, that'll say to me, you think there's any chance it was a one-year wonder? You think it was just a one-year thing? You know, think he'll take a step back?
Yeah.
And watching him in camp so far, I think it might be the opposite. I think he might have even further to go and make it take a step forward.
Ross, he's so tuned in now to what they want to do offensively. He understands. When he goes to the line of scrimmage now, I know that he sees it all. He understands, like, when they need to get into a different play, he understands it. He understands where the defensive rotation is going to be. He understands what his guys should be doing. He just looks so confident now in everything that they're doing. And it really helps that Brian Johnson is still there in his ear, and they spend a lot of time together. I can't wait to see what he's going to do with this season.
Well, and I'm not saying you have to be a coach's kid, but it helps. Yeah, I mean, you see some of these guys, and you can just see that is a coach's kid. And in terms of the top 100, Fran, the thing that jumped out to me, 6 of them were in the top 65.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's nice to have 7 in the top 100, but 6 in the top 65 is really impressive. And there's some other guys that could have been on there. I mean, Bradbury, Sweat. There's some other guys that could be on there.
I have a problem with this list.
Okay, what are you missing here?
Devonta Smith.
Yeah, number 100. Got to
number
raise
100.
That, raise that up a little bit.
I got an issue with that.
Yeah.
I just love, to me, when I watch him, he's like an artist on the football field. That when you play the position the way he plays it, he's just one of the most fascinating wide receivers to watch. As a guy who played the position, anybody that I've ever seen play the position, he's as good as anyone else. Skill set, he's as good as anyone I've ever watched play the position.
In what way, Mike?
I was just going to say,
just the movement. So his ability to get in and out of cuts without wasting time, in and out, the way he catches the football, the way he's able to contort his body when he needs to adjust the footballs that are not perfectly thrown. His hands, they're so good. He's a small guy, small frame, but to watch him maneuver the way he maneuvers in and out of breaks, and no one's like. And I made this comparison. I said, when Allen Iverson played, he would go up against the biggest guy on the floor and dunk the ball in his face. When I see this guy going up against anybody, it doesn't matter who's on the field, and he'll go in front in harm's way, make the tough catches. He'll do all those things. And no one talked about him as a 50-50 ball receiver, him going up, making the contested throws. He does it all.
He won the Heisman as a receiver.
He won the Heisman as a receiver.
Well, and I want to make a point here, because you know how much Fran loves the scouting process and the draft, right? You know, the concern with him, he's one of the skinniest football players I've ever seen. I mean, his lower body. I think that scouts, front offices, need to rethink that a little bit, because I think one of the reasons, Mike, and you played a position I didn't, but I believe one of the reasons why his feet are so good and he can get in and out of his breaks as well as and contort his body is because he's not carrying that much weight.
Because of his frame.
If you're 320, it's hard to get in and out of your breaks. I'm amazed AJ Brown does as well as he does at 225. But the less you weigh, the less inertia you have going one direction to then go back the other, or to contort your body to move around.
No question. But that's the type of body that you want at that position. That body that can do all of these things. Balls are not going to be perfectly thrown. You have to be agile enough to make those adjustments, and he's as good as anyone that I've seen as being agile and making the adjustments necessary to make tough catches.
Yeah, and to your point, Ross, that's what I was going to say earlier, was that you have him with A.J. Brown, two players that can attack all 3 levels of the field, so short, medium, and long, and line up inside and outside, but do it in such different ways. Like with the different body types, that gives this offense so much flexibility in the way that they can call a game, create a play, call plays. It gives them so much flexibility upstairs.
To me, what's nuts about the NFL is literally 2 years ago, people were calling all the radio stations to say the Eagles don't have any receivers. They need receivers. And in 2 years, now they have 2 guys in the top 100, maybe the best duo in the NFL. It's wild how fast it can just switch like that.
Yeah. So we know we're going into preseason game 1 here Saturday night against the Baltimore Ravens. You guys will both be on the call. Ross, you'll be doing the from television, Mike on radio. What are you guys most excited to be able to see with these 2 games?
So there are a couple of things. I really like I don't know who we're going to see play, first of all, but the defensive front that the Eagles have right now, I think there's some really dynamic players that are going to be so interesting to watch in the preseason. The linebacker position, everyone's talking about it. And it's hard to really evaluate linebackers in my mind until they're hitting people. So I think when you get into a game, a lot of these guys that you want to see play that you really haven't seen play. We haven't seen Morrow. I mean, they've seen him in other places, but we haven't seen him. I want to see the linebacker play and see who really stands out. I know that the combined practices are coming up, and you'll get to see some of that then. But for linebackers, you need to tackle people.
Tackle them to the ground.
You need
That's
to hit
what
people.
they do. Sure.
You need to show that you're instinctive. Like when you see a guard moving, you need to know that linebacker will fill that gap and get into the backfield and stick his face in there. That's what I want to see. I want to see the linebacker play specifically.
Right. So, Fran, for every preseason, okay, we love to see the rookies. Right? So you know, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Steen at right guard and left tackle, Sidney Brown, that goes without saying. And we always like to see in the second half of the games who are the undrafted free agents that step up. Last year, in my opinion, Mike, was the best roster in Eagles history, okay? And best roster in the league. They had 4 undrafted free agents make that team.
That's right.
And they did it in the second half of the preseason games. So those 2 things, though, are for any preseason game. What makes this year unique, it really feels like starting jobs at linebacker and safety are up for grabs. I'm really curious to see how much time these guys all play. There's been 4 guys getting reps with the ones at linebacker, 4 guys getting reps with the ones at safety. We didn't have this last year. We didn't have it like, hey guys, this is a Super Bowl caliber team, and we've got 3 or 4 spots that might be open for starters, at least 2 that are open for starting positions that they're going to earn tonight and next week and moving forward.
I mean, how about a running back too? That's going to have 5-man rotation with the starting unit. It's been Trey Sermon, Kenny Gainwell, DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott, all 5 guys rotating with the first, second, third team. You throw Kennedy Brooks in there as well. What does that look like when we get to Saturday night? That's going to be fun as well.
So I'm so glad that you said you thought last year's roster was the best ever, because I felt that way about this year's roster.
You think this year's better?
I do.
How can you say that, like at linebacker and safety, where we sit right now?
So
T.J. Edwards and Kaiser White played well last year.
Think about last year preseason. You didn't know that Marcus Epps would be Marcus Epps because he hadn't shown the Marcus Epps that we saw last year.
Yeah, it was only his 3rd year.
You didn't know that safety play that we got last year. You didn't know when they bought.
I didn't know Gardner Johnson was that good.
Exactly.
They didn't have C.J. Gardner.
They didn't have C.J. Gardner Johnson. Kazir White. We know that he had led the team in tackles where he was before, but we didn't know what we were going to get out of Kazir White. There were so many unknowns, just like going into this season. I felt like last year's roster was almost perfectly constructed, but I didn't know. But then you bring in these extra guys like Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph and Gardner Johnson, and everything just started to shape up. Well, before that even happens this year, I just think that this is such a stacked roster. I love the cornerback position. You got all of these long, rangy cornerbacks that can actually run. They can play press man. They can play zone. It's a fun roster to me.
Yeah.
I think they might be better at running back. I think they're better on the D-line. I think they might even be better on the offensive line. Receiver, having Zacchaeus is potentially a number 4.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's tough right now to say that they're better at linebacker and safety. However, that's what these preseason games are for, and we'll see how the course of the regular season goes too.
I think to Mike's point, like right now you have a known quantity, right? Like Jalen Hurts, as we mentioned,
we didn't know.
We weren't sure at this point. He was going to year 2 in the system, year 3 in the league. Now he's number 3 in the NFL top 100, right? So no, it's going to be fun to be able to watch them go through the preseason. Mike, you'll be sitting next to Merrill Reese, who sat next to us last week here on the show, and he did share his thoughts on Mike Quick perfect, not just as a player, but as a broadcast partner as well.
We're just great friends.
Yeah.
When Mike was a player, I would go over to his locker quite often because he treated everybody with respect. And to watch Mike develop as a broadcaster is really a thrill. I said to Mike the other day, and I can say the same thing to you, Ross, if either one of you had not been a player and just concentrated on becoming a broadcaster, you still would have been successful because you have that ability and you have that communication skill. And that's the great thing to see Mike develop as a broadcaster. We go to each other's family celebrations. We do play a lot of golf together. Mike is a great friend. To have him in the booth is just a treat.
So what's it feel like to be able to hear that from your longtime friend, Merrill Reese?
Yeah, it's awesome. I hear all of these guys, or many guys, say that I'm one of the luckiest people in the world. I feel that way. I got to play the game that I loved as a kid, and for 26 years now, I've sit in the booth with, in my mind, the best broadcaster in the game, and able to share Sundays with him talking about the game. My life's pretty good.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, as a guy that works with different play-by-play guys all the time, which is great.
Yeah.
That is so special.
It is.
That it's been the two of you, because I can tell you, even just one season, Fran, the more you work with one guy, you start to know his wife's name, his kid's name, you know his routine. I can't even imagine what it's like for you guys at this point. You guys land in a city, you know exactly what hotel you're going to, what restaurant. You guys got your whole routine down.
That's exactly right.
Well, like we did last week with Merrill, our social team went to Reddit and got a few questions for us to be able to ask Mike here while he was on the show. And I do feel like a couple of these can apply to both of you guys, so I want to get your thoughts. But let's start with a Merrill-related one since we're talking about Merrill. This is a question again from Reddit. Your most memorable call, Mike, with Merrill Reese. The one that stuck in my memory is, it's the Miracle of the Meadowlands #2. Is there another one that stands out to your mind as like the best call that you made?
So there are many, but if you want to go to the number one, they already touched on it. That is it.
Yeah.
Because when Deshaun Jackson, first of all, the ball never should have been punted to him, but when he dropped the ball, picked it up, and he started to return the football, you could see the sea part. I think it was Jason Avant. He gets a huge block, and he actually took down two guys with the block. And you could see it just open up. And you know how fast Deshaun Jackson was. No one's going to catch Deshaun Jackson. I'm like, oh!
And then he's running along the end line right, before he went in.
Then he wouldn't go in.
And then Tom Coughlin runs out, starts yelling at the punter, and the punter's just like, what? Matt Dodge. That's the only opposing punter I've ever remembered in my life. That stinks for that young man, but too bad he played for the Giants.
That's
He
it.
got fired the next day.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Do you enjoy commentating or playing football more?
Nothing can replace the fact that I played in the National Football League.
Yeah.
And I love what I do now. Thoroughly enjoy every opportunity that I get to talk football. But for me, nothing could ever replace the fact that, so when you walk out onto the field and the stadium is just loaded with
Mike's gonna get me crying.
Yeah,
here.
right.
And it's just, there's nothing. Dude, I'm getting goosebumps. There's absolutely nothing like that. And nothing can ever replace that.
And you know what I always say too, Mike? You can't pay for it.
Yeah.
No.
You gotta earn it. It's like, you know, there's like these multi-billionaire guys that are getting into UFC or whatever,
Right.
because they want that they want that feel.
Or they can go to the moon.
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. Or they whatever.
Down the other way. Right.
I don't care how rich you are.
Yeah.
You can't put yourself. I guess you could buy a team and make yourself on the roster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like you have to earn that.
That's right.
And there is no replicating going out there in front of all those people. I always say, Mike, I wish everybody could experience that once in their life. I wish everybody could have a sideline pass for a game, the whole game.
Yep.
Because I do sideline a lot on radio.
Yep.
When the play comes that way, I see some guys, Mike, like stand there. I have no interest. I run 10 yards back because I know when they're at the numbers, you're like, oh, they're 15 yards away. I got some time. Nope. No, they are on you like that. It happens in half a second. You better get back. As soon as they get to the numbers, you better get back or you're in trouble.
You don't know how many times I've thought that. I wish other people could experience this, like the experiences that we've had,
Yes.
like down on the field. I just think it's something like really, really special.
If you could bottle that,
if you
and
could
sell
bottle
it,
that.
we would be the billionaires.
What do you miss most from playing?
So it's always, people get, they think I'm crazy when I say this. I miss the violence. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to say that. I miss running into somebody as hard as I can, knocking them over. Like there's something inside of, I think a lot of us, and certainly me, I enjoy that. I miss the camaraderie, sure.
Yeah.
But I have buddies and we do other stuff. And
Right.
I definitely miss the money, no question.
I thought you would go with money first.
No. Actually, I take that back. My number one thing might be the food, the cafeteria. But other than the cafeteria food, shout out to the Eagles food services staff. But I miss hitting people.
Yeah.
And broadcasting a game is cool. And like you can try to like lift weights or do something. It's not the same as running into another human being as hard as you can. I think it's a pure, primal feeling, and in life you either love it or you don't.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I wish people could do. I want to start a business where people that never played a snap of football in their life can put a helmet and shoulder pads on once and run into somebody and knock them over. Just so one time they know what that feels like. It's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, they're not
or
gonna
one of them at least.
They're not going to want to do it for very long.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not going to end well for a lot of people. What do you miss most, Mike?
So I really enjoyed, contrary to what a lot of people think, I enjoyed the process.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. So when I would go in, and it's crazy, I see these guys, they don't even tape their ankles anymore, many guys. When I would go in to get my ankles taped before every practice, get my gear on and go out and start to warm up.
How long did that process take? You're getting taped up.
So depends on how long the line is.
Yeah,
But
right.
It only takes like a good 5 minutes to tape your ankles. But going through the process, going out, warming up, and then the best part for me was one-on-one. When you're lining up on a guy and the challenge of, all right, this man wants to stop me from doing what I want to do, and he has no idea what he's in for today. I love that stuff.
So,
I love the
Fran,
challenge of somebody lining up on me and thinking that they're going to stop me from doing what I want to do.
Mike just named my two least favorite things as a player. The process. Get there at 5:30 a.m. You're watching tape. It's all day. You're sore. You're tired. You have to go out to practice and hit these huge guys. And then one-on-ones against these guys that are way more gifted. That's why they're playing D-line and not offensive line. And I have to try to stop them in 5 seconds from getting 5 yards down. Mike's two favorite things are my least two favorite things.
As soon as you said it, I was like, well, I've always correlated, Mike, you and I have had this conversation, is like wide receivers and D linemen and offensive linemen and defensive backs.
Yeah.
The offensive linemen, defensive backs, you're doing something very unnatural. You're moving in reverse.
Yes, that's
You're
right.
trying to react to what
That's
other people
right.
are doing. Wide receivers and D-line, you're on the attack. You're the one in control. Outstanding that is
Dude,
your favorite.
so
that's your
running
favorite.
around and catching a ball and knowing that I just beat this guy, I'm like, yeah, you're done.
I have so many memories, Mike, of you catching bombs. And as you would catch it, I swear so often, right as you were catching it or right after you caught it, you'd see the DB swiping at your ankle. And sometimes you'd almost kick up your feet for a couple yards to then you could go all the way to the
Now,
house.
who wouldn't love that?
Another question from Reddit. Mike, if you could pick 3 players from today's game to play with during your prime,
Ooh.
who would you pick and why?
Oh, gosh. And that question takes too much time.
Meaning
Yeah, that's
like
a
the
lot, that's a
entire
lot.
league, or
Yeah, that's a
meaning
good
like
question.
the Ravens, Eagles preseason?
That takes way too much
No,
time
How
to
about
think
3
about.
Eagles?
3 Eagles. Yeah, let's
3
say
Eagles.
3 guys off
on the
this
Eagles.
roster that you can play with.
Can I go? I'll go first.
Yeah, you
while
go
Mike
first.
thinks
Give Mike
about
time
it.
to think.
Okay. So,
No one on the D-line.
no. And also, I care about what they're like as people.
Sure.
Because I have to hang out with them.
Yeah.
So for me, it's Kelsey. Let's say I'm at right guard. It's Kelsey and Lane. Or maybe I'm at left guard and it's Kelsey and Milana.
Oh, no, so it's
Definitely
only offensive linemen?
Yeah,
for him, yeah.
Mike, this is my game. The only other guy, though, Juergens is pretty awesome, too. And so is Landon.
Yeah.
I'll take the 5 Eagles
take the
O-line.
O-line.
I'll play goal line tight end. I'll take the 5
First
Eagles
guy off the
O-line.
bench.
They're actually all awesome guys that, like, not only are they great players, but I would like to hang out with them on the team playing the bus, et cetera, as well.
Okay.
So I'll take the quarterback, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I'll take him. And then I won't take any of the wide receivers because they'll take balls away
You don't want
from
that.
me.
Yeah, right.
I'll take Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
Because Goddard
Someone
can
to
then
suck
draw
coverage.
coverage.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
So that I
like
can get more balls. Yeah, I take those.
That is awesome.
I love it. All right, so another question. This one's great. This is the last one. Mike, would you rather fight 100 Ron Jaworski-sized Randall Cunninghams or
What?
1 Randall Cunningham-sized Ron Jaworski?
What?
I love this.
Would I
I mean,
rather-
the answer is the 1 Randall Cunningham-sized Ron Jaworski, I guess. You don't want to fight 100 Ron Jaworski-sized Randall Cunninghams.
I think they're talking about the personality a little bit. Is Jaws
so.
fiery? Compare those guys' personalities, Mike. You play with both of them.
So both personalities were somewhat similar in that they both were fiery guys. Randall just didn't show it nearly the way Jaws did. Jaws would scream and holler. Randall wouldn't, but Randall was fiery. He was always trying to get you pumped up, get you ready to go.
Okay.
And Jaws did it in a different way. Jaws probably was a little more, much more in your face, you got to get it done than Randall was. You know, Randall was just a guy who could do everything.
But Jaws was also
uber
the vet
talented.
when you were a young
And
guy.
Jaws was-
gonna say,
Randall was
yeah.
the young guy
Right.
when you were a vet.
Yeah, and that's a big difference
Yes.
because Randall was just learning the game, and I was already.
You were like an established Pro
right.
Bowler.
I was
yeah.
already with Jaws for 4 years. Had gone to 2 or 3 Pro Bowls already, so it's different.
And honestly, there's a reason why I'm wearing the Harold Carmichael jersey today.
It's a great jersey.
You have told me in the past, like, the impact he had on you as a young player.
my guy.
You've told me so many stories. Like, can you share like one really good one from Harold?
So I'll tell you this: when I first got into the locker room, and you know, I'd known about Harold Carmichael, and I'm like, I was so excited that I'm in the locker room with Harold Carmichael. I couldn't wait to call my brothers. Cause you know, my brothers are big football guys, big sports guys like myself. I couldn't wait to call them like, hey man, my locker's right next to Harold Carmichael. But I remember, and I tell this story quite a bit, the first time we were playing the Dallas Cowboys, and we're coming out of the tunnel. We always came out as a group, the receivers.
Yeah.
We'd come out so we could prance around the field and look like we're bad dudes. We're here to like do our thing. But I remember we were in the tunnel, and Harold would always lead us out. But Harold turned around, and I looked in his eyes, and he had these big tears just rolling up in his face. And the tears started to come down, and I was like, oh, snap. Let me tighten this thing up. It's about to get real. But that was one of those moments for me. But he was always just a great person for me to watch the way he did things because it helped me so much. That was the jersey I wore when I first came into the league.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is available at the Pro Shop, by the way.
It's beautiful.
That's the thing is, like, we talked last week about our favorite, like, the current players in the Kelly Greens. You go over there now, like Seth Joyner, Clyde Simmons, Reggie White, Jerome Brown, like the Harold, like they are all over there. So there's a lot of options over
So
there.
the other one has the eagle on the sleeve.
Yep.
So I remember this one because it was such a big deal for Marion Campbell. So after Dick's last season, which was 1982, Dick Vermeil, then Marion Campbell took over as head coach, and they changed the jersey. I don't know if it was the 83 or 84 season, but I remember him walking up one day, you see that bird on the sleeve? I put that bird on. He was so proud of that bird on the sleeve that he had put the bird on the sleeve, and I like that jersey as well. It's a very cool jersey.
Marion Campbell, marketing genius. We didn't know that until today. So thank you for sharing that. Well, look, we've got some pictures of you over the course of your career, so maybe we'll see some of the jerseys through the years.
The bird's on the sleeve right there.
There we go.
That is beautiful.
That's the Marion Campbell special. Poor ball security from you, Bear.
Oh my gosh, Mike.
Look at
Look
Chris
at the
Carter.
young
Look at
Chris Carter.
Yeah.
Keith Byers over to the left.
Yeah, sure, on the back. Yep.
Oh,
This is a classic.
Oh,
Go
my
YouTube,
gosh.
YouTube buddies watching you, and you will find the full video of this.
It's funny, the clothes that we wore back
Was
then
that
we
sweater
thought
from
was
the Cosby
really cool.
Show?
Yeah, that was a Bill Cosby.
Do you still have that in the closet, though?
I do. That's a Jeff Sayer, by the way.
Can you wear that on Eagles game plan this week or this year?
How about no?
What is this?
Wow.
You hurt your knee as a broadcaster?
No, that was a little bit earlier than my broadcast.
You were still playing back then?
Probably.
I've never seen that one. Oh, yeah, that's the good stuff right here.
That's when that was cool.
That's the good stuff right there. There we go. Look at this.
That's me today. That's all I want to do.
And Ross through the year. So this is Ross. You look
like a politician.
This is inside training camp, I believe, from 2015, I believe, if my memory serves.
Oh my God.
Days look exactly the same. Yeah, this is 2015.
Oh my
Ross, you've been doing
gosh.
plenty of work. We're in the same exact spot. This is our old studio. This is exactly where we're sitting right now.
I actually think I look better now.
Yeah,
I'm getting better as I get older.
I agree with you.
I don't know how that happened. I'm not that ugly. I've never been that ugly. That was a bad everything day. People say they have a bad hair day. Oh, Fran!
Oh, you know what? I asked. I said, it's only going to be Mike and Ross, right? It's not going to be anything of me.
Perfect.
Fran, you look the same.
Whoa!
Bad one. That's
Fran, what year was that?
That's your Patriots one.
That's as bad. Yes, that is my Patriot shot. I'm never going to forgive Melissa Higgins, our producer for the show, for that. And then we got this. This is my favorite shot.
That's my meme.
Do you know when this is from?
That's the meme.
When's this? This is. I used to use this as a GIF all the time in our company communication platform. What's your? Do you remember what that's from?
I do, but I don't.
Double doink.
Yeah,
double doink
that's when my eyes were popping out of my head.
Just this reaction, the pure joy and disbelief as to what's happening on the field. The double doink. That's a classic one.
Oh boy,
Mike, this is our. What did I say the other day? This is our 12th season doing Eagles game plan.
Yeah.
Ross, you've been doing stuff since 2015, so this is your. It's your fifth season. It's your fifth season doing preseason, ninth season doing stuff with PhiladelphiaEagles.com. That's why we had to go into the archives.
I love it. That's wild.
That's pretty cool stuff.
12th year for Eagles game plan.
Yeah.
Very excited.
It's going to be fun.
You'll be back. Ike Reese, John Clark, Greg Cosell. Ross, you spent a couple years on that show as well, doing some side pieces. Excited for Eagles game plan. We'll be kicking that off week 1 once again.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. I like the fact that it's going to be like a little more casual, a little more laid back this season, and a little more like this, where we're just kind of.
These shows have been awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, this is cool.
The way I look at it is when I watch it back on YouTube or whatever, I always think like it looks like we don't even know the cameras are here.
Just having
You know what I mean? We're just talking and telling stories.
It's cool
great.
stuff.
Yeah, well, a lot more to come. You mentioned Eagles game plan. We'll have all of our game day coverage, the post-game show. Stay tuned for more here on the Eagles YouTube page. Thanks for joining us here for Inside Training Camp, presented by Independence Blue Cross.